All right, let's just jump right in. We have all been there, right? You're driving along, minding your own business, and then bam, you hear that siren or see those flashing lights in your rearview mirror. In that split second, it's so easy to freeze up. But what if you could turn that moment of panic into confident, correct action? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. That little jolt of adrenaline? Totally normal. But how you react in those next few seconds? Well, it's about so much more than just avoiding a ticket. It's about clearing a path for someone whose life might literally be hanging in the balance.
So here's the game plan. First, we're going to talk about who these vehicles are and why this is all so critical. Then, we'll get into the non-negotiable rules for yielding. After that, we'll tackle those confusing real-world situations. And finally, we'll build your personal playbook for being a smarter, more proactive driver.
Okay, so let's start with the most important piece of the puzzle, the why. Because once you really get the stakes involved, all the rules we're about to cover just make so much more sense. This isn't just about traffic laws. It's about being part of a life-saving chain of events.
You know, it all comes down to this one critical concept in emergency medicine, the golden hour. This is the reason for all the rush, all the sirens. Every single second you save a first responder by pulling over correctly helps get them to a patient or a patient to a hospital inside this crucial window. Your simple action is a vital link in the chain of survival.
So that raises a pretty important question. When we say emergency vehicle, who are we really talking about? I mean, we all think of the obvious ones, police cars, fire trucks, ambulances. But is that it? Or is the list actually a lot longer than you might think?
Oh yeah, it's way broader. Think about it. You've got hazmat crews racing to a chemical spill, search and rescue teams, even those giant airport rescue trucks. But it also includes public utility trucks at a gas leak, tow trucks clearing a dangerous accident scene, and even bomb squads. The key thing they all have in common is a critical, time-sensitive mission.
Okay, so now we know who to look out for and why it's so incredibly important. Let's dig into the fundamental rules. These are the core actions, the things every single driver has to know like the back of their hand.
Now here's a really important point. Yes, emergency vehicles get to break some traffic laws. They can speed, they can go through red lights, but, and this is a huge but, it's what we call a conditional privilege. It generally only applies when their lights and sirens are on, and they are legally required to operate with due regard for safety. It is not a free-for-all. They are constantly making risk calculations.
So what's your job in all this? It really boils down to one core move, broken into 4 easy steps. 1, stay calm. Panic is your enemy. 2, signal. Let everyone know what you're doing. 3, move to the right as far as you safely can. And 4, come to a complete stop. Being predictable is the most helpful thing you can possibly do.
And what about following them? How much space do they need? Well, the law in most places is pretty clear. You need to stay back 500 feet. To give you an idea, that's about 1.5 football fields. That huge buffer zone gives them the space they need to stop, turn, or react without having to worry about you on their tail.
And here's a mistake I see all the time. A police car zips by, and the driver immediately pulls back onto the road. But here's the thing. Emergency vehicles often travel in groups. There might be an ambulance or a fire truck right behind that first car. The rule is simple. Stay put until you're absolutely sure the coast is clear.
So we've got the basics down. But you know, the real world isn't always a wide-open 4-lane highway. Things get complicated. So now, let's talk about how to apply these rules to those tricky, high-stress scenarios that confuse everybody.
Okay, this is probably the big one, right? You're at an intersection, or you're just about to enter it. The sirens are getting louder and louder. What on earth are you supposed to do?
It actually breaks down into a really simple 2-part rule. If you're already in the middle of the intersection, please do not slam on your brakes. The safest thing to do is continue through it carefully and then pull over once you're clear. But if you're approaching the intersection, you stop before you enter it. Even if you have a green light, just stop. All right, here's another one that gets people's hearts pounding. You're the first car at a red light. You look in your mirror and a fire truck is right behind you. Lights blazing, you can feel the pressure, right? What's the right move?
The answer is crystal clear. Do not run the red light. Don't try to be a hero and lurch into cross traffic. Just stay put. That driver is a professional. They are trained for this exact scenario, and they will figure out a way to get around you. You trying to move unexpectedly can make things way more dangerous.
What about on a big, divided highway? You see flashing lights on the other side going the opposite direction. Do you need to stop? Well, it all comes down to one question. Is there a physical barrier? If there's a concrete wall or a median between you, you can generally keep going. But if it's just a painted line or a patch of grass, you have to pull over and stop. They might need to use your lane.
And we can't forget the super important move over law. This is for when you see a vehicle already stopped on the side of the road with its lights flashing. Could be police, an ambulance, or a tow truck. The law is simple. You have to move over one full lane if you can do it safely. And if you can't move over, you must slow way, way down. Give those folks a safe space to work.
All right, for our last section, let's shift gears. We've talked about how to react. Now let's talk about how to be proactive. This is about the habits you build so you're part of the solution before you even hear a siren.
So first, let's bust a really dangerous myth. We've all seen someone try it, right? They think they're clever, so they tuck in right behind an ambulance to get a clear path through traffic. Is this a good idea?
No, absolutely not. It is unbelievably dangerous. These vehicles make sudden stops and sharp turns you won't expect. Following them is just asking for a collision. Plus, it's illegal. Remember that 500-foot rule? And it gets in their way. It's a shortcut to a really, really bad day for everyone.
So how do you become a more aware driver? Well, it comes down to three things. Visually, get in the habit of checking your mirrors constantly and scanning way down the road. Auditorily, keep the music at a reasonable level, and for goodness sake, don't wear headphones while you drive. And situationally, pay attention to what other cars are doing. If they start pulling over, that's your cue. And be extra alert when you're near a hospital or fire station.
And you know, this is really what it all boils down to. When you yield correctly, it's not just a driving maneuver. It's you as an individual playing a crucial role in your community's entire public safety system. Your calm, predictable actions can literally help save a life.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. The next time you get in your car, you're not just a driver. You're a partner in public safety. So how are your actions going to support your community on your very next drive?
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.